every president's biggest mistakes. Now this is gonna be very interesting. Very interesting. I'm pretty sure George Washington like owned slaves, so like that's probably his mistake. I don't know though, bro. I don't know though.
Mr. Beat, you got a problem with that?
That was not Abraham Lincoln. You're mixing them up.
Huh? Step up if you got a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip right to it, bro. I'm kind of. Why is he pressing me out, bro? What the hell?
George Washington.
It has to be the slave thing, right? I swear he owned slaves.
Even my favorite president wasn't perfect. The biggest flaw in his presidency was his failure.
Wrap it up, bro. I told you. I told you, bro. I knew it. Bro, look at these little kitties. Look at them having fun. They're like, ha 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 ha. Meanwhile, bro, to the right, got these getting whipped, bro. Come on, man. Look at these little girls, bro. And you know they all grew up to be super old and racist.
To use his influence to call for an end to slavery. By the time he was president, he had long privately said that slavery was bad and needed to go away, but his worry of his own financial security prevented him from freeing his own slaves. Imagine if such a unifying figure as Washington went public about him being against slavery and freeing all his slaves while president.
Nah, bro, he owned too many. There was no way that was happening. There's no way that was happening.
Country would have been so much better off in the following decades. John Adams. Adams signed
Bro, why do all the presidents have like the worst cuts, by the way? Can we talk about that? Like, these are the dudes that started America, right? Started America. Why do they have the worst cuts ever?
The Alien and Sedition Acts. Four of the worst laws in American history.
Okay, this just looks terrible.
The Naturalization Act made it harder to become a citizen. The Alien Friends Act allowed the president to easily imprison or deport any foreigner who they thought was dangerous. The Alien...
And they definitely still got that one. They definitely still got that one.
Enemies Act gave the president even more powers to detain foreigners during a war. And the Sedition Act, which was the worst of them all in my opinion, made it illegal to talk trash or make up fake news about the federal government. I hope you realize.
Wait, they said make it illegal to make fake news?
Talk Trash Act, which was the worst of them all in my opinion, made it illegal to talk trash or make up fake news about the federal government. I hope you realize.
I mean, okay, wait, how is that? I'm not saying trash. Okay, you could talk trash about anybody, right? It's supposed to be a country of freedom and shit. But like make up fake news, that kind of makes sense. You don't want to be spreading like misinformation about the government, bro. It makes sense that's a rule they don't want people to do.
The Sedition Act.
That's what people do. I'm about to say, bro, this rule does not, I don't know if this act they even use it anymore, but yeah, no, this is not working in the 21st century. This rule does not work in the 21st century.
It all over the First Amendment. Thomas Jefferson. First of all, Jefferson, of course, was even worse than George Washington when it came to slavery. Sure, for most of his life, he called for it.
Jefferson didn't invent the light bulb. Wait, who did they say invented the light bulb? Never mind, bro. It's the Benjamin guy.
To eventually end, and he did sign a law to ban the importation of slaves while president, but he likely fathered multiple enslaved children with one of his young slaves and owned more slaves than any other president in American history, and he didn't free almost all of them. Ugh, Jefferson. But that all aside, I think his biggest mistake while he was president was signing the Embargo Act of 1807.
What is this act? You get bit on the ass by turtles?
It banned pretty much all trade with Britain and France. Jefferson supported the...
Honestly, I'm with you, Jefferson. Times have changed, bro. Times have changed. You know what I'm saying? UK in it. I'm joking.
Law in order to avoid war with both countries, but it ended up devastating the American economy. The country lost tens of millions of dollars and tens of thousands of jobs. James Madison. In my video about...
Oh, he got a mean widow's peak. Hey, this is I know this was a nasty old man, too. You know James Madison was a nasty old man.
president's greatest accomplishment, I said Madison's biggest achievement was
The
holding
Vegeta
Britain
cut.
back during the War of 1812. Ironically, though, I think his biggest mistake was failing to prevent that war from happening in the first place. They called it, quote, Mr. Madison's War, for good reason. After all,
I don't even think I ever heard of that.
convinced a divided Congress to move forward with declaring war on a much more powerful country that could
What's bro
easily
thinking?
defeat them if it really wanted to. It was reckless, to say the least. James Monroe. Monroe's biggest mistake was signing the Missouri Compromise. I used to be more indifferent about the law, but
Oh, this is the North and South.
after learning
Bro, everything from like the 1800s to like early 19s is just gonna be something with race.
more about it, I can
already
more
know.
confidently now say it was a major cause.
My house got
of
burned
the
down
Civil
in that
War.
war?
The
Really?
Missouri Compromise admitted Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state to maintain the equal balance of slave states and free states that
Nah, they're trolling. They made Maine the free one, bro. Ain't nobody living in Maine, bro. They knew everybody was probably living in Missouri. They're trolling with that.
had already existed.
I don't know a single person from Maine. Actually, I just met my first person ever I know from Maine. My first ever person.
It also prohibited slavery
That
north
line?
of a line of latitude west of the southern border of Missouri.
Why is it so like spaced out, bro? So it's allowed in Missouri, but it's not allowed in where's this? Half of California, Arizona. I think this is New Mexico. But it's I'm so confused.
Line of latitude west of the southern border of
think I'm from
Missouri,
Maine.
despite the fact that Monroe had
Some states have
expressed
0 people.
several times that he wanted slavery eventually abolished. This law, in fact, made the institution more permanent. Sure, it avoided a national crisis, but it only kicked the can down the road. The crisis would only get worse later on,
California
and
wasn't created
Monroe
yet?
could have prevented it. John Quincy Adams. You all know me. I'm still the same old teach. I hate
He looks like an old wise man in anime. Tell me I'm wrong.
tariffs because they make stuff more expensive for you and me. As it turns out, JQ's biggest mistake was signing the Tariff of 1828, or as
AKA the act of getting by coffins. What is going on in any of these images? They were not doing good with drawing images back then.
I and other critics
Uncle
like to call
Iro?
it the Tariff of Abominations. It hurt both industry and farming alike, and even led to the nullification crisis. Andrew Jackson. Of course, his signing
Oh yeah, you know, she was a mean old bitch. This lady right here was a mean old bitch.
of the Indian Removal Act and causing the Trail of Tears was horrible, but I
Oh, that's when they like try to push out all the Native Americans, bro. Shout out to all the Native Americans.
think Jackson's ill-informed, hard
That's a guy. Cap.
money policies ultimately hurt even more people. He refused to establish a new Bank of the United States, instead allowing state banks to just freely loan paper money to pretty much anyone who asked for it. In response to this crisis,
Damn, it sounds like a good plan. I wish I was there. I would have been asking for like thousands of dollars.
Jackson issued an executive order that required all payment for federal government land to be paid
problem,
for in either
Cass.
gold or silver. Well, this caused inflation to soar. Eventually,
Oh,
this
shoot.
all at least partially led to the Panic of 1837 and one of the worst depressions in American history. Normally, the president doesn't have much control over the economy, but
So that's why we can't just print money. Bro, I feel like we could just print money, though. I feel like we could just print money. I don't know, bro. He obviously didn't have it on him. He didn't know what to do.
Jackson's actions certainly played a big role causing this economic crisis. Martin Van Buren. So what was the Trail of Tears? Well, it was a series of forced
kind of moderation?
displacements of around 60,000 people from the Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw nations. They were forced out of their homes in the southeast and marched out west for thousands of miles. Most
Damn.
ended up in future Oklahoma. The relocated suffered from disease and starvation on the way, traveling
They made him walk all the way over there? Damn, bro.
often through harsh
They
conditions.
literally came in and just kicked them out, bro, and made them walk all the way across.
Andrew
Yikes.
Jackson
That's
may
a
have
big yikes.
signed the Indian Removal Act and started the Trail of Tears, but it was
Why
Van
is America
Buren
dead?
who carried out the most infamous part of the Trail of Tears. The removal of the Cherokee from Georgia. At least 4,000 of them died, many of them babies or small children, as they traveled on foot through a particularly harsh winter, most with no shoes on and little clothing.
And you gotta imagine winters too back then, bro. It's not like they don't got no type of even 1900s technology. At least something like that, bro. They ain't got nothing like that.
William Henry Harrison. Yeah, Harrison's...
Dude, this drawing looks like AI. Holy hell. What was up? Oh, nah, man. Oh, nah.
Biggest mistake while president was drinking the DC water. That's apparently what got him sick and led to his death just a month into his presidency.
Nah, bro, you can't put that on here. Every president's biggest mistake. You just put him dying. Man, that's rough, man. Who knows? Maybe he could have been a good president, man.
John Tyler. Believe it or not, Tyler didn't make many mistakes as president. Then again, he didn't accomplish much as president either. I think his biggest mistake was refusing to reestablish a national bank. He even vetoed a bill to charter one. While central banks have not always made things completely all rosy throughout history, most economists argue that they have kept markets stable and helped prevent economic crashes.
But isn't that a bad thing? Like, if you just get a bank in a country that controls the whole country's money, then like they can do whatever they want with it.
In fact, that aforementioned Panic of 1837 likely would have been avoided if there had been a central...
He has a living grandson? How is that possible?
...bank in place to regulate banking transactions and help failing banks. After Tyler vetoed the national bank, it wouldn't come back for a while, and for the rest of the century, the country experienced some of its worst bank runs and recessions ever. James Polk. Polk's biggest mistake was starting an unjust war with Mexico. Polk was basically an imperialist who knew that if he sent troops into disputed territory along the Texas-Mexico border...
Bro, is that how Texas is like so big? I didn't realize how massive Texas was until I started checking recently. Until I started seeing like how far the cities are. They look close on the map, but like damn. Bro just took it over. They took our land. That's tough.
He would likely be starting a war. In fact, I'd argue he hoped it would happen. To Mexico, it was an invasion. It was completely reasonable for Mexico to attack American troops, as a matter of fact, which they did on April 25th, 1846. Polk couldn't have designed it any better. He went to Congress, urging them to declare war on Mexico, claiming that they, quote, shed American blood upon American soil. Congress, of course, went along with it, but it's long past due that we all admit that the Mexican-American War was a war of aggression, a war of imperialism meant simply to expand the nation's borders. Zachary Taylor. Taylor was only in office for 16 months, but that was enough to make mistakes. Taylor's biggest mistake was raising tensions in the months leading up to the Compromise of 18...
I have no clue what this is.
50.
Bro, you notice how all of them got that shit on, though? Whatever they did, it can't be that bad, because they got that shit on.
Despite being a slave owner himself, Taylor rejected any compromise with...
Wait, how was he... Oh, no, this is still the 1850s. Never mind.
Slave states to let them expand slavery out west, as originally agreed to under the Missouri Compromise. I appreciated Taylor taking the very clear anti-slavery stance, but in doing so, his rhetoric only further disillusioned Southern leaders and sped up the path straight toward civil war, which I guess was inevitable by this point, but still, Taylor made it worse. Millard Fillmore. After Taylor died in office, Fillmore took over and supported the Compromise of 1850. Except that he was perfectly fine with the worst part of it. He signed the Fugitive Slave Act, which made...
Fugitive slaves, attention, the slave hunter... The slave hunter? What the fuck is a slave hunter? Oh, nah, bro. Oh, nah, bro. Yeah, GG's, bro. Pack them up. Pack them up. What do you mean the slave hunters, bro? Like, they treating this like a goddamn bounty, like a one-piece bounty. Be on your guard. An arrest is planned for tonight. Be ready to receive them whenever they come. Oh, nah. The worst bill in history? This is the origin of bounty hunters. Literally, they were setting bounty hunting. This is like One Piece, bro. They were setting bounty hunters.
Made it so that the federal government was responsible for finding and returning escaped slaves, even if they were in a free state. Yep, free states had to cooperate. This was definitely a law that led directly.
Oh my God, y'all see these posters? $200 reward, 5 Negro slaves, and $200 back then was probably like 20,000. And people would be like, "Oh my God, bro, forget about it. It's like 200 years ago." Actually, what was it? Yeah, it was about 200 years ago. Not even. It's 180 years ago. My bad. Not even 200 years ago.
To the Civil
War.
War.
Fuck out of here, man.
Franklin Pierce. Speaking of laws that led directly to the Civil War, the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Pierce signed that law, which is easily one of the worst federal laws ever passed in American history. It opened Kansas for settlement and allowed the new settlers.
Wait, what's the problem with that? I'm confused.
To determine whether it would be admitted as a slave state or a free state. Naturally.
Oh, that's the problem.
This caused a mad rush of pro-slavery and anti-slavery advocates to Kansas, and violence would often occur between the two groups. That's how the territory earned the nickname Bleeding Kansas. Pierce literally...
Hey, shout out to the niggas that was defending it, though. Defending the rights, bro. No, look. They're out there with guns and knives, bro. Like, they was really out there not fighting for rights. Like, they were out there killing for rights. Respect to the ones that fought for the right side.
Caused the prequel to the Civil War, James Buchanan. Sure, Buchanan was a corrupt dude who did some shady stuff to help only him and his friends while in office, but his biggest mistake...
That's what most presidents... That's what... Actually, not most. Every president does, so...
...was allowing southern states to secede. Not only did he refuse to send down federal troops to prevent them from doing so, he didn't even talk trash about southern leaders when they began to do so. He was like, "Oh, well, I personally don't think seceding is a good idea, but you do you, South." So Buchanan didn't
it was like a shrug, like he was shrugging it.
Just do nothing to prevent the Civil War. He did something to cause it. Isn't that something? Abraham Lincoln.
The GOAT, bro. Nah, don't diss my GOAT, bro. Chill out, like chill out, bro. Chill.
You may already be noticing a pattern here. If you mess with the First Amendment, I got problems with you. And yes, Abraham Lincoln messed with the First Amendment. He arrested journalists and newspaper publishers who criticized his handling of the Civil War. His administration censored mail and telegraphs that undermined the war. Lincoln had people arrested singing Confederate songs, for crying out loud. I don't care.
Bro, who cares, bro? Yes, they deserved it. What the hell? What are you talking about?
It was wartime. That's messed up, man. Andrew Johnson. Yeah, I think Johnson made plenty of mistakes, but I think his biggest one was causing the Black Codes to happen. The Black Codes were laws passed by southern states designed to make the lives of recently freed slaves miserable. Essentially, slavery was now illegal after the passing of the 13th Amendment, but the Black Codes made it so African Americans still felt enslaved. After the Civil War ended, Johnson allowed pro-slavery southern legislatures to quickly take back over, and yeah, nearly all of them passed Black Codes.
Damn, bro. I'm telling you, like, people be like, "Oh, forget all this and stuff." That's the reason why people talk about like stuff embedded in society, bro. That's something that was embedded. Like, you couldn't get no advantage, bro. If that happened, you couldn't get no advantage. Racist ass presidents. I literally said the first, like, up until 1850, early 1900s, it's gonna be racist stuff.
Ulysses Grant. Grant's biggest mistake was supporting and enforcing the Comstock laws. It all
What the hell is that? The law of obese people running around, obese wizards?
Started with his signing of the Comstock Act of
like
1873, which made it illegal to mail stuff or receive stuff in the mail that was obscene, lewd, immoral, or indecent.
Yo, I want you to send any of those OnlyFans hoes to this time. What would they do? What would they do to survive? You couldn't send nothing. You couldn't send no news and nothing like that, bro. None like that. Die. W law.
decent. It was another slap in the face of the First Amendment. After Grant signed the law, a dude named Anthony Comstock, who all these laws were named after, became the enforcer against bad stuff in the mail. He arrested an activist named Ezra Heywood after Heywood mailed one of his pamphlets which made the claim that women should have the right to control their own bodies. Comstock also arrested
Bro, they arrested him for that? What?
Another dude for receiving the pamphlet in the mail. Rutherford Hayes. Okay, Hayes, I get why you did this as part of the Compromise of 1877, but it still sucked that you did it. Hayes' biggest mistake was removing federal troops from the South, marking the end of Reconstruction and directly leading to a dramatic rise of white supremacist rule throughout the South. African Americans no longer had federal protection and for decades would be treated in the South as second-class citizens.
Bro, so he's the one that started it. Dude, everything is about race. This is so bad. It started segregation, basically. Yeah, pretty much. That was like the jump start.
James Garfield. Garfield's biggest mistake was letting the media know his schedule. That's how Charles Guiteau knew Garfield was going to be at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station on July 2nd, 1881. There, Guiteau shot Garfield. Now, Garfield's other biggest mistake was trusting his doctor, Willard Bliss. Garfield was actually starting to recover before Bliss screwed things up while trying to get his bullet out.
Oh my god, yeah, no.
With unsterilized fingers and tools, he caused a severe infection, which ultimately led to Garfield dying.
Imagine, oh my god, I could just imagine living, bro. Imagine living back then, and you had doctors like this. There was like a 50% chance if you needed a surgery or something, you were gonna die. Not even 50, like 80% chance you were going to goddamn die, because doctors was doing dumb things like that. Like, they didn't have no sterilization stations or anything like that. They didn't have no hand sanitizer. They was just going in with their bare hands, bro. They probably beat their dick the day before. Oh my god, man. They eating everything. They touching like dirt, doorknobs, everything. And those are the people doing surgery on you. Bro, the one job and he screwed it up. And that's for the president, man. They definitely hanged him after that.
From septic shock. Chester Arthur. Arthur's biggest mistake was signing the Chinese Exclusion Act. Another one of the worst laws in American history.
I can already tell. It's in the name. Chinese exclusion.
It banned the immigration.
Holy shit. What is that drawing? Bro, who drew that? Propaganda posters was wild back then. Don't use this if you want to be dirty. They got Uncle Sam kicking that nigga off a hill.
Of Chinese who were coming over to do manual, unskilled labor, which the country desperately needed help with, by the way. It led to similar laws that further discriminated against Chinese Americans in the coming decades. Not only that, it led to what's known as the driving out era.
These drawings are
in which
wild.
Anti-Chinese Americans assaulted and even killed Chinese Americans if they didn't get out of their communities. The bottom line is, Arthur signed the Chinese Exclusion Act because of xenophobia, an irrational fear of Chinese people. Grover Cleveland. How about another crappy law?
He has a cool mustache, though, before you ruin my mood with what he did. He has a cool mustache.
Cleveland's biggest mistake was signing the Dawes Act.
Damn, bro.
The law said the president could subdivide Native American tribal communal land holdings into portions for individual heads of families to privately own, and opened up leftover plots to the general public to settle. This law single-handedly led to tribes across the country losing around 62% of their land.
Oh my god, what? 62%? It's like half, bro. That's basically, that's almost everything. They took the good part. Is it supposed to be the East or West Coast? I can't tell.
But its main goal was to force them to be more like Americans. Benjamin Harrison. Harrison's biggest mistake also hurt Native Americans. And I'm not talking about his proclamation opening up Indian territory to American settlement.
At least they got free land, bro. The government got free land. You ain't get no free land, bro. All the government took that shit. You think they gave it to you, bro? You think they gave it to you?
I'm talking about the fact that under his authority, the U.S. Army murdered around 146 Sioux on December 29th, 1890 on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Today we call this the Wounded Knee Massacre. And not only did Harrison approve of it, but he gave out medals of honor to 20 of the American soldiers guilty of the massacre. Jeez.
On giving a medal of honor for a massacre is that just sounds like so dystopian.
Dude, William McKinley. McKinley's biggest mistake was the Philippine-American War. A war so messed up that you wouldn't believe what happened in it. If I told you 20 times, it was an unjust war from the very start. The Filipinos had just gained independence from Spain, and McKinley now wanted the United States to control them. Of course, they resisted, and between 1899 and 1902, perhaps as many as 1 million Filipino civilians died because of it. American forces.
Why have I never heard of this, bro? See, I'm telling y'all. This is why YouTube and social media is important, because I swear never in my life have I heard of this story ever in school. Ever.
Burned villages through Filipino.
Are all these just old white dudes killing minorities, bro? I mean, that's basically what they did.
Into concentration camps and tortured Filipinos who were suspected of rebelling against Americans. There's other horrible stuff American troops did, but I won't go into detail in case there are any kids watching. This war is one of the ugliest parts of American history, and McKinley was responsible for it. Theodore Roosevelt.
Somebody said these presidents would get it canceled immediately on Twitter. Yeah, I think that's the least of their worries. Nah, Theodore Roosevelt, I heard he was cool, man. He looks cool. And he has a cool mustache. And he has a cool glasses thing.
As much as I talk trash about Teddy's crappy foreign policy, I give him mad props for it improving throughout his presidency. He was a man who changed his mind when learning new information, after all. However, one thing still stands out as a pretty big mistake during his presidency: the Brownsville affair. In Brownsville, Texas, in August 1906, after someone killed a white bartender and injured a white police officer, the town's residents all decided to blame all the members of the African-American 25th Infantry Regiment, even though there was no evidence they actually did it. Well, Roosevelt thought they were guilty, ordering 167 of the 25th Infantry Regiment's soldiers dishonorably discharged. In other words, Teddy didn't allow them to have due process of the law. They were guilty until proven innocent. By the way, the Army found them innocent in 1972. By then,
oh my God, man. That's rough.
Only 2 of them were still alive. William Howard Taft. Taft's biggest mistake was signing the Payne-Aldrich Tariff Act, a law that mostly raised tariffs and was so controversial that it deeply split the Republican Party. Taft himself was quite proud of the new law, later calling it, quote, the best tariff bill the Republican Party ever passed. While it did lower tariffs
very big. I was about to say, how do you even get this big like back then, bro? Because people, it wasn't like you can go pull up at a McDonald's or something like that and just eat like 5 Big Macs. You had to be sitting there, had to have like you probably had like 3 personal chefs or something like that, cooking in hot pots, making them like 5 pounds of steak.
Some items, it raised it on others, and ultimately just frustrated everyone. It also made the Philippines heavily dependent on the United States. Woodrow Wilson. Wilson's biggest mistake...
Wilson?
Yes. He had many mistakes, but I think his biggest mistake was signing the Espionage and Sedition Acts, passed after the United States entered World War I. The Espionage Act made it illegal to interfere in the war effort in any way. The Sedition Act made it a crime to say, quote, disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive stuff about...
How are they going to stop people, though? And this is before social media. It's not like they could just ban the word everywhere. Like, if somebody says abusive in public, like, what if somebody's genuinely talking about something else? Like, something else. They were talking about, like, something abusive going on. Do you just get arrested for that?
About the American government, armed forces, or
Nobody likes
even
this guy?
its flag American government, armed forces, or even its
Even in
flag.
Hungary, we had the
According
Censor
to
Act? What is that?
historian Paul Averick, as many as 1,000 people went to prison as a result of the Espionage and Sedition Acts.
Oh, I thought it would have been more, to be honest. But yeah, the fact that 100 people went to prison for just saying those words is
signed
ridiculous.
by Wilson. Some of them got sentences up to 20 years in prison. Again,
damn.
in my
Nah,
view,
bro. Oh my god.
these are laws that
I could not live back
strongly
then.
went against the First Amendment. Warren Harding. The 1920s were not good in terms of xenophobia and anti-immigrant legislation in general, and Harding definitely played a role in that. His
He looks
biggest
like a modern politician. Like I could see this dude on a Senate.
mistake was signing the Emergency Quota Act, a law restricting immigration from certain countries that were, quote, undesirable. In reality, it was just meant to restrict
Bro, what are the countries, bro? It says Europe right here. Hold up. They actually ban Europeans?
immigrants coming from Eastern and Southern Europe. That said, I also have 2 dishonorable mentions for Harding.
But like, isn't it weird because you're banning a European and like you come from Europe, bro. You come from Europe, but like you come from Europe, you're European by your blood if you went back to your ancestors.
He signed
you're
the
banning
crappy
yourself.
Forney-McCumber tariff.
Wait, British
hey, you
ban
know how I
W?
feel about tariffs. And the Revenue Act of 1921, which was really just a law super wealthy people wanted passed since they didn't like paying taxes. Calvin Coolidge.
Wait. Hold on, let me rewind that.
And the Revenue Act of 1921, which was really just a law super wealthy people wanted passed since they didn't like paying taxes.
Shit, can they pass that for me, bro? I need this right now. Well, not super wealthy, but like for somebody else, bro.
Calvin Coolidge. Speaking of crappy immigration laws.
Okay, this dude actually looks like he could be in like the 21st century or something.
Coolidge's biggest mistake was signing the Immigration Act of 1924.
Damn, bro, we're in like the 1920s and we still getting racism shit.
Which expanded xenophobia
Why am I saying that like it's that's actually like the least surprising thing.
to Asia. It heavily restricted immigration from Asia. It's even also called the Asian Exclusion Act, by the way, together with the
Asian Exclusion Act, they just put it, bro, they used to just put stuff in the names. Like they just straight up put it in the name.
Emergency Quota Act. The Immigration Act of 1924 favored immigrants from Northern and Western Europe. For some reason. I guess it was because their skin color tended to be lighter. Anyway, the xenophobic immigration system solidified by this law stayed in place until the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965. Immigrants have historically made the United States very strong as a country. In fact, we'd probably be screwed without them. And Coolidge's immigration law essentially shut the door on most immigrants. Herbert Hoover. The Great Depression. No, we can't blame the
100
entire
years ago?
depression on
That's what I'm
Hoover.
saying. That's not even that long ago in the context of everything. Because like we had 2,000 years, bro. That's not long ago.
But he did make it worse. Hoover's biggest mistake was the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act.
That sounds so goofy.
Which was supposed to encourage people to buy American-made stuff by placing tariffs and thus increasing the cost of imported stuff. Instead, it led to trading partners retaliating by raising their tariff rates and ultimately froze international trade, causing companies' sales to drop everywhere. In fact, this one law
Why even do that? That just sounds dumb.
dramatically made the Great Depression worse. Soon after Hoover signed it,
Like you're basically stopping your country from making money.
banks began to fail. By the end of 1931, nearly
created depression.
2,300 banks had failed, and $1.7 billion in deposits were lost. Franklin Roosevelt. FDR's biggest mistake was forcing more than 125,000 Japanese Americans to live in concentration camps.
Oh, and this is pre-Oppenheimer times. Bro, this is pre-Oppenheimer times. Oh yeah, they went crazier like 20 years later.
Completely stripping them of their freedoms, despite no evidence that any of them were conspiring to help Japan in World War II. If you want to learn more about it, I have a video here you can check out, and another video about it here. Then again, by this point, you're probably depressed.
I never even heard of these. I'm gonna have to research some of these.
And have lost
This
all
is Oppenheimer times? Oh, never mind then.
faith
I
in
thought Oppenheimer was in the 50s.
humanity, so maybe you don't want to learn more about this stuff. Harry Truman. Truman's biggest mistake was the Cold War. Wait, the entire?
Yeah, a whole war, bro. That is the it was the 40s. It was okay. I'm a little bit off. A whole war. That's like the worst thing of all time. You just causing a war. You're a president that caused the war. You have to be one of the worst.
Cold War? Well, kind of, yeah. He escalated tensions that contributed to the Cold War happening in the first place. For starters, his foreign policy, famously known as the Truman Doctrine, called for military interventions all over the world in the name of, quote, support for democracies against authoritarian threats. Say, did
Cold
that
War was
mean
started
at
by
home
misunderstanding?
too? Anyway, whether it was getting the United States involved in the Korean War, giving military and economic aid to countries to fight governments friendly to the Soviet Union, quickly expanding the development of nuclear weapons, or destroying any chance of diplomacy with Soviet leaders, Truman's actions all play.
Bro, I remember in the movie he was like, no, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of funny. He was like, when Oppenheimer went to him, I guess a little spoiler, I don't know. But when Oppenheimer went to him to say like he regretted the decision or something like that, he was like, I don't care. He basically said he doesn't give any. He basically said he doesn't care.
Big role increasing tensions between the two countries. Don't get me wrong, I'd blame the Soviet Union's government just as much for causing the Cold War. They were far from innocent. But
spoiler, bro, that's just history, yo. It is, bro. It is. It actually is. But it's a spoiler for the movie. Like, it's a spoiler for the movie in case anybody wants to watch it.
Truman's actions definitely played a key role as well. I always cut Truman some slack, though. He was president during a tremendously difficult time in history. Dwight Eisenhower. Look, as you may
middle school used to be named after this guy.
Already know, but his presidency was also not without mistakes. Particularly his reckless roundup of undocumented Mexican immigrants along the southern border and him signing Executive Order 10450, which contributed to the Lavender Scare. However, I think Ike's biggest mistake was allowing the CIA to help overthrow the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh in favor of the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, aka Operation Ajax.
Look, is this Iran? I'm from Iran. Okay, I was trying to make sure. I didn't want to get the country wrong. How is that even possible?
First time the CIA directly orchestrated a coup of a democratically elected government, and it later led to a more radical government getting in there after the Iranian Revolution, which itself then led to the Iran hostage crisis. The bottom line is, Iranians would never forget the American government's involvement in overthrowing their popular leader. Even today, the governments of Iran and the United States have a poor relationship. And it all goes back to 1953.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that's why they hate America.
And Operation Ajax. John F. Kennedy. JFK's...
Damn, bro, you about to disrespect my goat, man. Man, this is another one of my goats. It's not better than Abe, though.
Biggest mistake was the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was a failed military operation in which Cuban exiles landed in Cuba in order to attempt to overthrow Cuba's communist government led by Fidel Castro. Most historians acknowledge the invasion as one of the biggest foreign policy failures in American history. It made Castro even more of a hero and increased Cold War tensions with the Soviet Union. Not only that, it made Cuba a closer ally of the Soviet Union, setting the stage for...
He doesn't have the worst one, like, compared to all the other... His might be the least tame. The least tame. It is bad, like, it's bad decisions, but it's the least tame.
The Cuban Missile Crisis. The very next year, Lyndon Johnson. LBJ's biggest mistake was the escalation of troops in the Vietnam War. Not only do most historians view the war as a costly disaster, LBJ's justification for dramatically increasing troop levels there to fight it was partially based on a straight-up lie. Congress agreed to escalate troops there after the two attacks that together became known as the Gulf of Tonkin incident. As it turns out, American soldiers provoked the first attack, and the second attack, well, that never happened. LBJ in his administration completely lied about it. So ultimately,
Damn. Yo, you think they could do something like that now? Nah, I don't think they could do. You can't just lie about. Well, okay, that's a lie. Never mind. That's just a lie. I was about to say the government can't just lie about shit now. Yeah, no, never mind. Actually, that's a bad take. But like something as big as that, bro. Something as big as that, people would know. I feel like people would know. Like staging a whole fake ass like bombing. They could, but eventually the truth would get out. I don't think they could go through with it. Like, it would come out immediately if they fake something that big.
Tens of thousands of American troops ended up dying based on this lie. Richard Nixon.
I heard he was like the worst one of all time, huh?
What do you think?
Was he the one that got impeached? Yeah.
Watergate was Nixon's biggest mistake, or perhaps his secret bombing of Cambodia and Laos.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
As revealed in the Pentagon Papers. But I'd argue him starting the war on drugs was his biggest mistake. It was more than just
he did resign. I'm trying to remember, bro. I'm trying to remember all the shit I learned. He did resign.
Words.
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
Nixon created the Office of Drug Abuse Law Enforcement, which eventually morphed into the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, who mostly went after non-violent drug offenders. Incarceration rates have skyrocketed ever since, with people of color disproportionately being arrested.
I was about to say, this is why, like, bro, like, back then, black people, police would just stop them and just arrest them for, like, having, like, a smidge of weed or something like that on them.
And convicted with harsher sentences than other groups, even though everybody uses drugs at the same rate. In fact, many argue...
Okay, coke is kind of crazy. I don't know what that was, or that was heroin.
Nixon's war on drugs was mostly racially motivated. Nixon signed the Controlled Substances Act, which criminalized drug abuse and said, without any evidence whatsoever, that marijuana and psilocybin were just as dangerous as heroin and more dangerous than cocaine.
Bro, that is so ridiculous. Nah, bro, that is so... Like, that pisses me off, bro. That pisses me off just hearing it. And then people back there were just like, yeah, sure, man. I mean, he's the president, man. We're going to believe it, bro. We're going to believe it. And the worst part is there's people that still probably believe that. I don't know, actually. Nah, it's different now. It's definitely different now.
People who have needed medical treatment have instead been sent to prison with violent offenders. According to some estimates, the United States has spent more than $1 trillion fighting the war on drugs. And the drugs won the war, by the way.
It definitely made it worse.
Use today is arguably as common as ever. Gerald Ford. Ford wasn't president.
Ain't that a car?
Long enough to do much damage, but I'd argue his biggest mistake was his support of the brutal Indonesian dictator Suharto and his invasion of East Timor from 1975 to 1976. It led to tens of thousands of civilians dying, and Ford gave Suharto the weapons that led to those deaths. Jimmy Carter. This one is easy, and Carter himself even later admitted that this was a big mistake on his part. How he handled the Iran hostage crisis, which I have a video about.
I never heard of this.
But of course,
I need to learn about
that. And stuff. No matter what Carter seemed to do, whether it be economic pressure, diplomacy, or even sending in the military to try to rescue them, things just didn't go right to rescue those 63 American hostages. Ronald Reagan. Simply put,
this is the worst. This is all time. This is all time number one runner up all time scorer of being the worst president of all time. Like, bro, the few presidents people know, Reagan is like one of them.
But Reagan's biggest mistake might be something named after him. Reaganomics. Reaganomics is basically the economic policies popularized and associated
Not
with...
worse. Top two. One.
Reagan, but they're nothing new. You know, stuff like deregulation, tightening the money supply to fight inflation, and reducing the federal income tax and capital gains taxes. And to be honest, I'm personally a fan of all that stuff, at least to a certain extent. However, Reaganomics took all that to the extreme and many economists say that his policies dramatically reduced economic mobility, meaning ever since it's been much more difficult for Americans to get out of poverty. Economists also argue Reaganomics has led to a widening income gap. The rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, basically. It also has definitely led to a general...
I'm telling you, it's a build-up, bro. At first, then they probably didn't feel it at first, and then later on, bro, now we see how things are.
Trend of the national debt spiraling out of control. George H.W. Bush. Although a dishonorable mention ought to go to Operation...
I don't know anything about him.
Just Cause, which was when the United States invaded Panama to overthrow their leader Manuel Noriega. I think Bush Sr.'s biggest mistake was pardoning 6 of the convicted criminals associated with the Iran-Contra affair. Simply put, I think it greatly undermines...
Who's worse, him or his son? I think I'm going his son, bro. I'm gonna have to go with his son. Bro, the other Bush, his son Bush... Oh my God.
The idea that no person is above the law.
Man, but it's the start of a war that should have never happened.
And yes, I have a video about that too. Sorry. All this homework for you. Bill Clinton. Clinton usually gets remembered for his personal scandals, especially the Monica Lewinsky scandal that ultimately led to him.
Nah, I don't know why people was mad though. Like, he was getting that shit on. I mean, I feel like the president personally can have some side hoes, but things are different now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, bro, if Obama had some side hoes when he was running.
Being impeached, but I think some of the laws he signed were much more damaging for the country.
He was married. That is pretty bad, but still, bro. The thing is, bro, the president is like the top tier of leaders, right?
3 laws stand out to me in particular as doing way more.
He's in a position of power, bro.
More harm than good. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, aka the 1994 Crime Bill, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, and the Telecommunications Act of 1996. While the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act had good aspects, like decreasing unemployment, saving the federal government money, and decentralizing welfare management, it completely ignored existing systemic problems and has arguably led to even more poverty among people of color and more non-violent drug offenders having a more difficult time after they get out of prison. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 caused a small number of giant corporations to control nearly all media, making it much more difficult these days for independent musicians, filmmakers, and artists to have...
How was that? I'm trying to think how that happened. Because yeah, every single... We're own, like, especially for music, for example. Oh my God, bro. You're not going to make it if you're a music artist and you don't sign that label. You're almost not going to make it, like, independently. But I'm trying to think how that even happened. I feel like with social media is better.
There's stuff discovered, but Clinton's biggest mistake was signing the 1994 Crime Bill, which gave money to states to build new prisons and hire new police officers, but also led to much stricter prison sentences overall. Because of that law, tens of thousands of people got far more harsh punishments than they deserved. And just like the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, the 1994 Crime Bill made systemic racism much worse. People of color got arrested more than whites and got harsher sentences than whites for the exact same crimes. By the way, Clinton himself has admitted that signing this law was his biggest mistake. Damn. George W. Bush. This is another easy one. Bush Jr.'s biggest mistake was Operation Iraqi Freedom. Bush's invasion of Iraq...
Somebody said 9/11. Let's speak, guys, in GTA terms, because they're going to come for me, bro. The elites are going to come for me. They're going to come for me.
Iraq in 2003 was mostly a huge failure based on lies. The Iraq War and War in Iraq later on both...
Damn, this is until 2017? I didn't even know that.
Devastated the country, leading to the deaths of
CIA gonna be at
hundreds
Tommy's
of
door.
thousands
Chill.
of innocent people and the loss of tens of billions of dollars due to damage, and Bush and his administration were mostly to blame for it. Barack Obama.
No, man, you gotta... He's about to go in on my GOAT, man. Oh, man.
This mistake was the expansion and normalization of the use of armed drones.
Damn.
He dramatically increased drone warfare, targeting suspected terrorists in multiple countries, often ignoring the sovereignty of those countries. And he dropped many of these bombs on innocent
Osama bin Laden.
civilians. In fact, as much as more than
He was a war criminal, though. He was a war criminal.
15% of the casualties were civilians. He normalized the use of drone warfare, which I think, frankly,
is pretty messed up.
related to this, Obama killed this 16-year-old American citizen with a drone strike. Now, it may have been an accident, but
I was about to say, I thought he was going to say he personally, like, choked him by hands. Why did I think he was going to say that?
jeez, man. The kid didn't do anything wrong. That was murder. Donald Trump. Oh,
Trump is about to go in.
Trump loved drone warfare too. He possibly killed even more civilians than Obama did, but
Damn.
we won't know for a really long time.
Bro, almost every president, every modern president is like a war criminal in some type of way. Is a war criminal.
If that's true or not, since he kept all
Chat
that
about to blow
information
up.
secret. It's classified, baby. But what's not
Y'all know what's crazy, bro? Look, call me, say I'm wrong right now. For the next election, bro, you don't even got to say anything, bro. Trump is most likely getting the dub. Compared to Biden, bro, either way, I don't like both of them, bro. But I don't like both of them. But like most likely, bro, though, I can see, bro, the public opinion is swaying, doing different things. Most likely, bro, he's coming out with the dub. And that's this year, bro. That's this year. Because then there's nobody else like that's prominent that's come out. They both
is
suck.
his blatant attempts to overturn the legitimate presidential election of 2020. After he lost the election, he repeatedly lied about there being widespread voter fraud, and in the process riled up his devoted followers, creating political chaos across the country that culminated with the January 6th
Nigga, pull up your fuck. Is this man wearing panties? What the hell is this man wearing panties?
United States Capitol attack. By undermining the 2020 election, he put our entire electoral system in jeopardy. Even today, tens of millions of Americans still believe there was widespread voter fraud, and it's only mostly because Trump insisted there was. It's certainly not because of their so-called evidence. I've looked very closely at this so-called evidence, and it's crap. I'm sorry, there's nothing there of substance.
I was about to say, was there anything of evident proof like ever, bro, for this entire thing? I don't follow fully into this, bro. We all know he was like, it's a fraud election, different things, but like I never looked into it.
Joe Biden. While the
My nana look like
withdrawal
Trump?
from
No.
Afghanistan was a disaster,
Oh, Biden, bro, yeah, it's GG's. It's GG's.
that would have probably been a
Damn, bro, see the longest part? Oh my god, how is that possible?
disaster no matter who was in
Sleepy
charge.
Joe.
Therefore, I'm going with his forcing private companies with 100 or more employees to enforce a vaccine mandate. It eventually got struck down by the Supreme Court, as it should have been in my opinion. But hey, Biden
Nah, the vaccines, I feel like it wasn't bad at first. Like when COVID started, when COVID first started happening, I think I got the first one and then the other one. But now, bro, there's like 5 or 10 variants, and it's like, all right, nigga, bro. I don't know if that makes me. I'm not taking like I took the initial one and then that's it, bro. I'm done. After they started releasing like different versions, boosters, different things, I was like, bro, I'm good. And the funny thing is, yo, I got the vaccine, bro. I still got COVID. That shit didn't work. People got vaccines in 2022 and I'll out, bro. If you still getting a vaccine in 2024, like nigga, that shit has been done, bro. The party's been done.
still in office. I'm sure if he tries hard enough, he can make an even
Remind
bigger
me, I need
mistake.
to get my booster.
And there you have it. Every
Oh, it was short.
president's biggest mistake. And I should stress, these are my opinions. Sometimes I make mistakes. In fact,
Bro, the fact that he has to say this, like, you know, there was some goddamn, you know what I'm saying? You know, the Twitter blue hair types or like the other ones, bro, the fuck Andrew Tate, MAGA, you know, all them was in the comments, bro, angry. But nah, this was a good video. This was a good video either way. Yeah, in conclusion, I don't know, bro. Here, I'm gonna run for president, y'all. I'm gonna be the best president of all time. I'm legalizing marijuana everywhere. Everybody's getting $1,000 for free, personally, because like everybody deserves it, bro. Everybody who lost land, you're getting your land back. Don't even worry about it. You're getting your land back. And yeah, just clip this, bro. In 2060, you'll see me. You'll see me. You're getting your land back. All right, we'll be good. We getting our land back, bro. We need that shit back. And if you're watching this on the tube, join the Discord.